guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm here to just bring some soothing tones to fill your week and get you through to the next one.
Defo come with that energy today.
Yeah, I wasn't in a great mood, was I?
No.
It's just, sometimes, I know, let's be real for a minute.
Please.
Okay, sometimes
please
the ADHD thing is just like a quirk.
Yeah.
It's just like, but sometimes it is really, really, not debilitating, but it really does get in my way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really does hinder me.
Yeah.
And I think I'm definitely getting that this morning
or
today.
So it's a bad one.
Yeah, it's not a bad one. It's just, I'm just keep falling further behind everything I do.
Yeah. Yeah, so it gets quite frustrating.
Yeah, really frustrating.
Yeah.
Really frustrating. I mean, I was in such a rush for this. I left my house, left the mansion.
Yeah. Which takes time in itself.
Do you know, it's about a 5-minute drive from the door to the gate.
Absolutely.
Got all the way here.
And if Ricardo's not ready to go at that point,
pulled up. They're always ready, mate. We're not. Okay. They don't stick around. If they're not ready, they're not ready again. They don't get another chance.
Makes sense.
Got all the way here, pulled up, realised I didn't have any of my equipment.
So they didn't get that ready for you. So I had to
beat the drivers. Then we had to wait for another replacement driver to come because technically now that's no longer road legal.
Yeah.
So then the other driver took me back home and we got our kit and we came back. But,
So they had to send a car out.
They had to send a car out here.
So currently outside there's just a poor driver recovering from his injuries.
Well, yeah, he probably is because the ambulances aren't going to get here in time, are they?
You didn't see him when you came back?
I didn't look.
That checks
He had his chance.
He's dead to you now.
He might actually be dead, but we'll wait for the courts to settle that one.
Yeah. Right. Poor guy. He's just trying to earn a living. Do you know what I mean?
Should do better then, shouldn't he?
It's very Tory of you.
Oh, no, I don't like it.
No.
I'm switching back.
Yeah?
Yeah, free holiday for everyone.
Okay, that's nice. Who's paying for this, Jake?
Good point. No free holiday for anyone.
Is there anything you'd like to talk to me about this week?
See, I know you're just inquiring like a general sort of sense of,
yeah. Well,
let's make a discussion.
We haven't discussed it
the way you ask me is properly like you know something, and you're trying to get a confession out of me. You're trying to.
No.
Is there anything you want to talk to me about? Come on now, think hard.
Well, I did want to be a policeman once upon a time.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
What level? All the way up to dick? You'd have made a great dick.
I've always made a great dick. And I have one too.
Great dick with a great dick.
Yeah. Double dick, they used to call me.
And you could have probably given it the long dick of the law.
That's it.
No. Is there anything you want to talk to me about? Is there?
I think I know what that means. Yeah, it's completely changing tone. But I saw on television this morning on Jeremy Vine. It was on.
Why did you watch that?
I wasn't.
Okay.
My mum was. And they were talking about that apparently there's a record number of sick days being taken, like in history.
Yeah, pandemic might have something to do with that.
And the question was, are workers too soft?
Brilliant.
What do you reckon? Workers, like...
No.
No?
No.
What do you reckon?
We're coming out of the back end of and we're not even in the back end, we're coming out of a global pandemic. So when it's still going around, like COVID is not over, it's still going around. And for the ones that are having it second time, third time, fourth time, there's a spell where it gets pretty bad for a lot of those people. I don't think anyone's softer.
I don't even think it's COVID related particularly. I think it's more on the end of, well, back when like workers' rights have improved over the years in general. That's starting to change now, and I think that's why this is a narrative out there. But I think the main problems are, one, people have workers' rights, so they use them. So they take sick days when they need to. And the other one is, I think every industry now is the most understaffed it's ever been. So I think the level of workload and stress on
absolutely.
Every industry is at a level that people get sick more often.
Yeah.
Or want to be away from work.
Yeah, you're probably right. They're working. I mean, I was thinking today when I'm trying to cram everything in today, I was like, God, I want us to push through that 4-day work week because, as you know yourself, like when you're working full time and you're trying to fit everything you can into 2 days, so you've got to fit all your leisure activities, all your hobby activities, all your cleaning, all your sort of like maintenance
all
duties,
your practical
any
stuff.
DIY stuff, any actual improvement stuff that needs to go on. You've got for everything.
And like you've been on a health kit for quite a while now, you want to be able to go to the gym or exercise or all
and
these
you've got to
things
fit
as
it
well.
all into just like 2 days, and it is tough.
And then
it
the
is
podcast.
Tough. It is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not even mentioning family affairs.
No, and you want to see friends, you want to see family,
Exactly.
Yeah, you'll get invited to dues, you'll get invited to events.
So I think that's what's at the root of it. I don't like, and I feel like, I think the whole point of them having those sort of conversations and media outlets trying to spin all the time that the workers are the issue is because
it's in the build up to the slashing of workers' rights.
Basically,
100%.
And so if they can keep us arguing amongst ourselves that we're all the problem, or that you can convince someone that your colleagues at work going sick is the reason you haven't got anything.
Sticking in that area, do you think there's a correlation between the record number of sick days and the record number of strike days?
Yeah, I think there has to be, because I think for most...
It's breaking point, right?
Yeah, because most industries don't have a union, or if you do, like, I'm in a union, but it's not a union like the railway has a union. It's a union in the sense of, if I get into trouble, I can have a representative
it's more having,
there. That's it.
It's more going down the disciplinary route is where they come into play.
It's not getting together to strike or demand better pay conditions. They have no power whatsoever. So the only recourse for someone like me, if I'm pissed off, is to be like, I'm not going to come in.
Yeah.
So I think,
Well, I know I said it to you before. You know, I don't necessarily think this was the sick day thing is, but I've said it to you before with the strike thing. I've said it on here before. The only thing that we have left as workers is our labour. When you're at the bottom rung of the ladder, the only thing you have left is your labour. So if you withdraw it, that's the only power you have, is withdrawing your labour.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I don't think people are doing it in a organised manner. I don't think like groups of people in the workplace are going, should we all just go sick this week? I just think it's people being like, oh, I can't be bothered to go in today, so I'm not going to go in.
And also, with all due respect, I don't necessarily think that's what this is, but I think with all due respect, you don't get, I think I'm certainly of that attitude of like, I don't get paid enough.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I know that's cruel.
Yeah.
It sounds really dismissive to my workplace, but, you know, there are frequent conversations happening at my workplace, and I'm sure there must be at yours as well. Frequent conversations where you're looking around going, we are now, because our wages haven't risen like at all in the time that we've been there really,
No.
What we're looking at is the minimum wage has come up. Again, the minimum wage hasn't come up in line with living standards and inflation. But because you're kind of looking at it thinking like, Christ, I could walk into any job and pretty much be paid what I'm paid now.
Yeah.
So you really have to question why you want to still be here.
Why go above and beyond?
What are the payoffs here? And I've had a couple of conversations with some of the higher ups where they've sort of talked about future plans and stuff, and I've sort of said, well, with all due respect, you know, if that's the route you want to go down, that's the route you want to go down. But all I think you're going to be doing is driving a high turnover, because you can let people come in, realise that actually there's no payoffs for the money. You know, it's not like, oh, well, the money's shit, but it's this, that, and the other. It's like you're taking away all those other luxuries. You're taking away all those other luxuries. Yeah. And I use the word luxuries in quotation marks. And it's like, and all you're going to do is you're going to get high turnover. You can get people come in, do a few months and leave, and then you're right back where you are, trying to fill gaps, trying to plug holes. Yeah. If that's the route you want to go down,
and the thing
that's
is,
fine. But
what companies don't realise when they're rampantly trying to maximise profits by cutting labour and cutting resources, cutting benefits to people's jobs, or lowering holiday amounts, whatever it might be, you're lessering the goodwill. You're not showing any goodwill to your workers, so why the fuck would they show any goodwill to you and go above and beyond?
Oh, 100%.
If you don't feel valued, you're just not going to do it.
100%.
And like, I even know one of my old bosses who runs a store not too far from here. For 2 years, they've been trying to fill management positions. But when they get people in, they don't last very long, because they're like, the money's shit and the work's ridiculous. Yeah. Why the fuck would I do it?
100%.
Yeah.
And they're not smart enough, maybe with the cruel world, that the greed is too strong for them to be able to go, do you know what, we need to incentivise this, we need to make it worth people.
Yeah. And companies just aren't doing that. And I think part of that is because I think there's still probably more people for those jobs than there are vacancies.
And I wonder whether, particularly with big companies, and this is going to sound really cynical, but I think if there's one place you could be quite cynical, it's big business.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm wondering whether the big businesses see what's on the horizon and think, well, all we have to do is keep ticking over for the next couple of years, and then workers' rights are going to be we're going to have free reign over it. Yeah. Right? And then we can do it. Yeah. How we're doing it.
I don't know what we do.
And there's no alternatives.
I don't know what we do when that happens. I'd like
vote.
to think under Labour that's not going to happen.
But then Labour are doing this thing where they're going sort of centre-left policies, or what I consider to be centre-left policies,
Yeah.
and then they're coming out and they're going, yeah, we're going to do those, and then a year later going, well, actually, do you know what? I think we're probably just going to do it the way that the right are doing it. And you're like, whoa, we want to get rid of this lot because of the way the right are doing it.
I know, it's worrying.
It's not working. You need to go, and it's like...
But I don't know what we do when that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Labour, should we talk about Labour briefly?
We can do. I mean, there's been the whole Dianne Abbott.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
Well, the thing is, I heard... This is, I mean, it's a credit to Keir Starmer. I found out she got suspended before I even found out
what she said,
what she'd done. And for anyone who doesn't know, she wrote, or a letter was released that she'd wrote, sort of saying that people of Jewish descent, Romani descent, she called them gypsies, but like Romani descent, didn't, although they faced discrimination, weren't basically on the same sort of discrimination level as black people.
They didn't experience racism.
Basically.
That's what she said. They don't experience racism.
Likened it more to being a redhead or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, something like that, wasn't it?
You know, just absolutely despicable, because obviously, as everyone knows, the Jewish people were targeted during the Holocaust. And
as were the Romani people.
Yeah, and
like,
suffered.
I think that's an important thing as well, by the way, that I think, again, because our history books kind of teach us so much about, aren't we great, the British, we're so brilliant. But it wasn't just Jewish people that were targeted in the Holocaust. In the Holocaust? In the Holocaust, it was travellers and it was...
I didn't know
it was LGBT
one.
people were all targeted.
Yeah.
They all had their own badges that they had to wear, and they were all sent to concentration camps.
I didn't know that.
They were all
I think I knew about
it.
the LGBTQ one, but not the
Yeah, no,
one.
they were also targeted in that sort of despicable act against nature.
Yeah, and I was quite surprised because I had to do a double take, because I've always known Dianne Abbott as someone who's experienced a hell of a lot of racism and has been on the front foot and, you know, the forefront of racial
we're all
inequality
in this together kind of thing
in this country. So to see that coming from her, I was really surprised. But I mean, credit to Keir Starmer, he's done absolutely the right thing to immediately suspend her.
But then, what about there are other members of the party that are maybe hold discriminatory views?
Yeah,
that are not facing any kind of repercussions.
Okay.
Holding those views.
Any example? Because I've not heard.
There's one.
Yeah.
I don't want it to just be like we're always talking about. I deliberately wanted to avoid this topic this week because I feel like we just did so much of it last week. But there's one quite anti-trans member of the party. Nothing.
Okay.
Absolutely. She said some quite
outrageous stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, well, is it a party for all or isn't it a party for all? You take action in one area but not another.
Right.
I think that sums up Labour quite well, to be honest. I think they sort of say...
But I think that roots itself in what we were saying earlier in terms of who they're trying to... in practice, who they're trying to appeal to. And it's... The reason they haven't done anything about the transphobic stuff is because that voter base are against trans rights. So they're not going to stand up for them.
Whereas there's quite a lot of black people, quite a lot of Jewish people, and we can probably do with their votes.
Yes, basically. And Labour need to, as I think James O'Brien said, turn the oil tanker around on that, because their credibility when it comes to being anti-Semitic isn't great.
No, agreed. Like I said,
that's not me justifying that behaviour. It's just...
I don't think them... removing Dianne Abbott was the wrong decision. I just think it makes you look and go, okay, so you
across the board.
It's sort of all it does is you go, oh, so you are capable of action.
Mm.
So why aren't you acting elsewhere?
Yeah. Well, it's a cynical political reason, isn't it?
Yeah, but like I said, there's a couple of issues that the whole immigration issue in particular, where Keir Starmer's kind of
he's really
swinging round to the right.
That.
Yeah.
He
really has.
He literally has done a 180 completely, because it was only a year or so ago that he was vehemently against doing what the Conservatives are doing, and now he's just gone. I think basically he's seen the bump in the polls, which isn't a massive bump, but it's a bump for the Conservatives since doing all of this.
I think it's a really poor move on Labour's part. I really do.
I agree, because for me, Labour had a really, and like Keir Starmer had a very easy job to do. Like the Conservatives could not have made winning the next general election any easier if they
placed
tried.
the ball on the line and walked away from the goal.
Like Rishi Sunak had a genuine opportunity to try and completely recreate the Conservatives' image. He hasn't done that, and yet still, Sir Keir Starmer's managed a way to mess it up.
Every time Labour moves a little bit further to the right, all I think it does is it does exactly what's been happening for the last 30, 40 years in British politics. Going back even all it does is it splits the votes on the left between more parties. Because rather than unifying and going, let's just get one party and let's get these pricks out, they're going to go, well, the Labour Party aren't.
They don't represent.
They're not
me.
very good. They're quite right wing, and they're going to go, well, we're going to go Lib Dem, we're going to go Green. And I think if they carry on the way they are, you're going to see Lib Dems and Greens make gains, and the Tories are still going to stay in power.
Yeah.
Because all the votes on the right are not being split.
No. There's only one place for them to go.
Yeah.
And the problem is with Keir Starmer's flip-flopping, there's room for Rishi Sunak to go back after him. And to be honest, Keir Starmer's not the reason why Labour will win or could potentially win the next general election. It's basically because of how bad the Conservatives are. So giving Rishi Sunak any ammunition to further muddy the waters in terms of people wanting him as Prime Minister, he just shouldn't be doing. And just ideologically, it's not who I thought he was. Do you know what I mean?
It's been a real revelation that he's sort of heralded himself as the kind of
I'm not here to politics.
Well, yeah, I'm not here to play politics.
Yeah,
I'm here to do the right thing. And then he's immediately started playing. Well, not immediately, but he's eventually started succumbed to the game.
Do you think that's because it just corrupts you being in that position, that to get by you have, we don't know what's gone on behind the scenes? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's about the support network you set up, and a professional support network. I think if you pick advisors that are true to your style, if you say I'm not going to play politics, I'm just going to be me, and then if you pick advisors that are true to that and they don't want to push you into playing politics, but obviously you want to try and pick ones that are capable of playing the game when it needs to be played, but the 9 times out of 10 say, do you know what, forget about it, you're going to do you.
I was actually going to say that I don't think he's necessarily surrounded himself with bad people. I don't know many of them. The main one that springs to mind is Angela Rayner. I'm a big fan of Angela Rayner. I'd like her as the leader of Labour, but I don't actually think she'd win a general election.
No, I think she's got two things going against her, really, hasn't she?
She's northern and she's
a woman.
Well, the three things then. But then he had Dianne Abbott, so clearly he wasn't surrounded. I know it's a fine balance to strike, and we have sat here saying we wanted him to play the game a bit more, but not like this.
Not go all in.
No, not
and change your entire ideology.
It's almost a bit like Obi-Wan. You were the chosen one.
He was.
You were meant to destroy the dark side, not join them.
You were meant to destroy the Sith. It doesn't really matter, but
all right. Sorry, nerd.
I am a nerd. You know what? I'm a nerd. There's some things I fucking know, and Star Wars is one of them.
It's because I've gone off of Star Wars. I don't remember the last time I watched one.
So you've not seen any of the Mando?
No. All right, fair enough. I watched 3 or 4 episodes, really enjoyed it, and then I just haven't gone back to it.
But it's not something. It's not something that you were like. No, you. It's there. It's there to be enjoyed.
Yeah, I will. And I will finish watching it at some point because I know there's been more seasons, and I'm a big fan of Pedro Pascal. And Grogu's cute, isn't he? So
yeah, I love that little motherfucker.
Yeah. So no, I will probably watch any Star Wars films they bring out in the future, but I have no love for it anymore. If that makes sense.
You can never kill my passion for Star Wars is like the Olympic flame. That shit will not go out.
I find that really sad because what my favourite thing to do as a kid was to pretend to be Qui-Gon Jinn, and do you know what I mean?
Badass.
So
I love Qui-Gon.
Oh, absolutely, he's a badass.
He followed his own, but he believed in following. No, do you know what? I'm getting too bogged down in it. I'm not. This is not the Star Wars.
As we've discussed before, I genuinely felt they shit the bed with the new storyline completely.
Do you know what? I mean, just very briefly while we're on it, the new stories.
Bro, we talk
I've got
about
into a lot of arguments
with
with Star Wars fans and stuff online, and my position is really clear on this. Is because they're like, oh, you just hate them. It's like, no, look, I love the characters, and particularly Ray and Finn, particularly Daisy Ridley and John Boyega.
Yeah,
I want to see them.
John Boyega.
I want to see their characters in the hands of capable writers and directors. I want to
Yeah,
see
I couldn't
them,
agree more.
rather than the story
I
that flip
couldn't
flops
agree
all
more.
over the place and fucks around characters and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to see their characters in a solid
Everything
story.
except the story was absolutely fine by me. I liked the
Yeah,
people in it.
But it was a shit story.
Yeah, it was a shit story.
First one copied
Like-
Star Wars Episode 4. The
Like,
second one,
Old Mark Hamill is a gem that comes around once in a lifetime. Do you know what I mean? Like
Agreed.
Mark Hamill
love Mark Hamill.
is just a superb human
Love
being
Mark
and
Hamill.
a massively underrated actor, in my opinion. They could have done so much with just him, and they meant that just.
And Luke is one of the
just-
most beloved characters in Star Wars.
I didn't realise
and
how
there's so
OP
much
Luke Skywalker
when
is.
the
By the way,
extended universe, and I know obviously that's not canon, but in the extended universe, there's so much great Luke lore and stories and stuff about him.
yeah, because the thing
And
is,
then
the films don't
The
make
films
him out
just
to be the
completely
badass.
portrayed that.
Yeah,
Completely portrayed that. Betrayed that. So
Yeah.
they didn't portray it. That was the issue.
yeah.
They betrayed the character of Luke, and
So
that's
no,
what I felt.
because
Really,
of that,
I
it
felt
sort
really
of
against that.
like robbed me of the love I had for it, because it was something that I didn't watch all the time, but when I watched it, I enjoyed it.
And then don't even get me started on the third one, Palpatine's Returned. Right.
I got to admit, I remember watching that going, oh, no, because like in the first one they did, I was like, all right, yeah, I
See
can
where
get
this goes,
behind
let's see where
this.
this
Second
goes.
one, I was like, oh, no. Let's see how they stick the landing, and it was like, oh, you motherfuckers! It was just so. I actually think I've rewatched the third one.
I have not.
No,
I could not.
which is not.
I sat down to do it. And
Rogue One was decent.
about 10 minutes in, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah,
I can't. I just don't like this story. Is so shit.
I liked Rogue One.
Yeah, Rogue One was great. I
That
love
was
Rogue
fine.
One. Love Rogue One.
I still need to watch Clone Wars.
I really like Clone Wars. There's
and
obviously
I
there's
like
some
a bit
filler
of
episodes. but-
animated
And
stuff.
Rebels. I love Rebels.
Yeah, I need to watch that as well.
I love Rebels.
So like, there's still a lot for me to watch, but yeah, they fucked the films as we've said before.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. So what we were talking, we somehow went from
We went from
politics and
politics to Star
racism to
Wars.
Star Wars, and I dig it.
Do you know Star Wars is there is an interesting representation of racism and race in Star Wars. I do feel like, I know this sounds like a not to get blame Disney for being too racist or anything, but I do feel like they didn't know how to handle. I feel like they did the right move by going, let's be diverse, let's get let's get a woman, let's get a black guy. I feel like they didn't know how to handle them as well, because
Yeah,
they
and they did the
marketed
brave
them
thing
all
of-
over the place.
Because that's it, and like you got the impression. I remember from the trailers and the advertisement thinking, well, Finn's going to be the guy, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they do a really brave thing to actually flip that on its head, and it worked, and it was great. But then, I don't know, they just didn't know.
They shit the bed.
They like had a great premise and were like, yeah, there's something we can do with it, and then it's like they didn't actually have a plan for it.
No, I've always said the three sequels were kind of like a group project where you've all gone off and gone, well, I'll do this bit, you do that bit, I'll do that bit, but none of them have discussed what's actually going to be the central theme running throughout.
Yeah.
And they've just made three completely different movies, and none of them make any sense when you
No.
put them next to each other.
No. Because there's a lot of loud bangs and explosions and starfights and bit of lightsaber action, people think, oh, what did I see recently? One of the shouts, because, all right, well, this is something we can talk about. It wasn't even on my list. And I don't know if we've talked about it on pod. The confirmation, is it HBO are going to do the Harry Potter series?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I think the books were good. I think the films were good.
Yeah.
And I think it should have just ended there, because it wasn't really, for me, it wasn't about a universe. It was about that story.
Yeah.
So for me, continuing that story after it ended, all it really would have done was sully the story a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do think with Fantastic Beasts, so I've said to you before, I think, regardless of my personal views on J.K. Rowling, I think her skills do not extend to being a screenwriter. It's a different skill entirely, and she proved with
Is
those
that
films.
what changed
that she
between
didn't.
the Harry Potters and to them, is it?
Yeah, well, she wrote the script for the Fantastic Beasts,
Right,
and I
okay.
think it shows, because I think there's just
Do you know what? I didn't mind those films. Where I think it went bad for a lot of people, and we talked about him before, was Johnny Depp leaving it, because bringing Mads Mikkelsen in, and I'm a huge Mads Mikkelsen fan, and I was actually quite excited to see how he did with the role. But he didn't even attempt, like, he looked completely different. The character looked completely different to how he did in previous films. He was almost albino in the first two films, and then when it changes to Mads Mikkelsen, he just looks normal. He had massively discoloured eyes in the first two films. third film, his eyes look basically normal. And I think a lot of people just, I don't know, it didn't have the emphasis I think it would have had if it had Johnny Depp in it. I think it would have gone down better.
So I don't think that. But anyway, I think for me, it's like, I think you just got to let it die. And I think part of the thing with, if I was J.K. Rowling, I'd kind of say, well, like, do you know what? I don't need the money. And I'm really happy with what we've got so far. Let's just leave it.
It would be interesting to know what her motivation is. Because from what I've seen online, apparently, because it wasn't it Warner Brothers before that she was partnered with?
Yeah. Well, Warner Brothers and HBO will kind of have a
are they sort of connected?
History thing. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But Warner Brothers wanted desperately to do more Harry Potter stuff, but basically felt because of J.K. Rowling, Ezra Miller, the Johnny Depp stuff, on and on, that they just couldn't. Like, they wanted to do a cursed child film, but none of the original cast wanted to return, basically. None of the big three, anyway. They're like, no. Like you, we're done with it. We ended the story nicely.
That's the thing as well. I think it was ended nicely, you know.
Yeah.
It is a nice end to it.
Yeah. As a fan of Harry Potter, though, I'm excited at the idea of, because HBO do series well when they do them well. So if they can do it well, I think it will be good. And you'll get more of the meat of the books within the series.
I'll tell you what I think, just to go, you know, obviously, because I realise I say this, it sounds a bit hypocritical as a Star Wars fan who told a story and then went back and revisited it again and again and again and again,
Yeah.
right? I think with the Star Wars stuff, relatively early on, so kind of in like as early as the 80s, so you're only talking a few years after the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Other writers came in and went, you know, look, can we write this and publish this story based in the Star Wars universe? And George Lucas went, yeah, that's fine. And so that's this extended universe began to expand. And George Lucas didn't write any of the extended universe.
No.
Fans did. And I feel like if Harry Potter had a similar treatment, if fans had to come along in like, so when did the movie end? 2012-ish?
Yeah.
2013? If maybe 2015, 2016-ish.
It's a long time ago now.
Some fans had started to publish some books, not just online forums and stuff, but actually published some works and said, look, we're going to set this book. And Warner Brothers and Rowling and whoever owns the rights had signed off on it and started to build the universe that way. I've been more accepting because you'd have got different voices telling the stories.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it's just one voice, one story, and it's
now
we're over here. And now it's like, no,
it's a double-edged sword, that one. I think you're right. I think she absolutely should have done that. But I also think that's one of the reasons why the films were done well, was because she had a very firm line of like, British actors, everything has to go through me. It has to have my sign off. I have to believe in what's being done. So there's a good aspect to that because we got good films. And I hope that will mean the casting and the story's done right in the series. But you're absolutely right. It then excludes any outside influence to improve upon it.
Well, I think if you went, look, anything that happens in Harry's life, particularly from Harry's birth right up to the Battle of Hogwarts, you say, no one's touching that.
Yeah.
No one's interfering with that timeline at all.
What happens
what happens afterwards?
Books?
What happens before? You know, when you look at when you look at the backstory of Dumbledore, or when you look at the future story of, like, you know, fucking Harry's kids or his grandkids or something, get some other writers in, get them to put their perspective on it, get them to use their voices to share these stories.
I completely get.
I think, and then you've built a universe, and then for me, then it's a bit easier to say, well, we're going to make a TV show, we're going to make a thing, because, you know, there's kind of more to draw on. And it's more diverse.
I think you're definitely right. I think that would improve it. I think probably from J.K. Rowling's point of view, I think I can see, and I could be completely wrong about this because I don't really know the woman at all, other than, you know, she's not very nice to trans people.
Right. Strong legacy.
I think there's probably how I would potentially feel is like a purity of what she's created. Like, she has an idea in her head of what she wants to be created, where the story goes, and I don't think she wants anything else on that. I agree with you. I think it would improve it, but I can understand from her aspect.
And also, it's like going forward, you know, who do you hand creative reins to? Because you realise that Harry Potter is this big, huge thing now, and it's going to live beyond you. You kind of have to accept it.
Yeah, you have to embrace it.
And you look at, and I'm just going to keep the Star Wars comparison going here because we're on it, right?
You can compare it to George R.R. Martin if that makes you feel better.
Well, no, I was going to compare it to the Star Wars thing, because then I look at George Lucas, who kind of went, well, this is bigger than me. Never mind selling it to Disney and getting it back and all that kerfuffle. You know, he quite early on, from as early as like the Clone Wars, he kind of was tapping up Dave Filoni and was like, look, you get Star Wars, I know that. And they'd have long conversations about it, about the characters and about the history and the lore, and they'd have these huge conversations about it. And I've seen Dave Filoni talking about it, and he kind of went, look, you know, after a few years after the Clone Wars and whatever, he was like, look, the reins are yours. Star Wars is your baby now.
Yeah.
And I know, having spent all that time with you and having talked you through it, and I'm always on the end of the phone while I'm around, always on the end of the phone, but it's yours now. And I think J.K. Rowling could have really benefited from.
No, I think you're right.
But with Star Wars, because you had all those diverse voices already telling the stories,
it then ruined.
You've got the opportunity to pick one of them and go, this guy really gets Star Wars. You know, for J.K. Rowling, if she'd have opened it up and all these other writers had have written it, there might have been one writer that emerged that she just went, you get it.
Yeah.
You get the character of Harry, you get the character of Dumbledore, whoever it is, and you go, you're going to be it. I'm going to hand the reins to you.
I think collaboration, especially in creative arts, is never a bad thing.
Especially if you're building a universe.
I think you can have a solo process and idea, but I think you have to be fluid at the same time, and willing to sort of see how things go. So no, I agree with you. I think it would improve Harry Potter, but I can understand why she doesn't do it.
And so what did you think about the series?
To be honest, just as a Harry Potter fan, and I have a missus who is an uber Harry Potter fan, so it's always going to be in my life. But the series, I'm actually sort of not excited. It's the wrong word. I'm
curious
to see how it's going to go, who they're going to cast as what. And it was the thought that sparked this conversation was Adam Driver, because obviously it's just a fan rumor that they want him as Snape.
Interesting, because he's currently being tapped up to play Mr. Fantastic.
Yes, I saw that.
So he's a very busy boy,
which I sort of like.
And we're keeping the Star Wars theme, which I'm always happy with. I mean, Kylo Ren was like, they had such potential with Kylo Ren and the character of Kylo Ren, and they just fucking shat the bed with it so hard.
Like, what's funny is I've seen him in so many different things that it wasn't until like a few years after his Star Wars appearance I was like, fuck, he's the comedy guy, and I've seen him in this, and that's him in Star. Yeah, you know, he's good. I like him. There's a film actually with he does with Daniel Radcliffe, and it's like a comedy romance film. I think it's like What If or something, and he's in that, and he's really good in that. Completely different. And there's another film, This Is Where I Leave You, which I think is about a family. Their dad dies, and the whole family has to come back together. It's got like Jason Bateman in, and loads of other people whose names I can't remember. And they're in that, and him, and so I like him.
No, it's something like that. But yeah, okay. So you're thinking. I mean, I think it probably just.
I think it's going to boil a lot of piss. I think a lot of people aren't going to like it. I think a lot of people are going to bitch and moan about casting. But I'm just interested to see how they do it. And for me, I'll be able to separate my love of the films if I don't like the series, and I'll be able to, because even with things like a random one, Aladdin, for example, couldn't be a bigger fan of the original, and like particularly Robin Williams within that as the genie. For me, it's like iconic childhood stuff.
I think.
And when I heard about the live action one and Will Smith was going to be the genie, I'll be really honest with you, I hated the idea of it. I thought it was going to be absolutely shit. And I sat down and watched it, and actually it was really good. And he did a really good performance as the genie, and he completely turned my head on it. So I'm able to like...
How long into the movie before he slapped the shit out of Aladdin?
Isn't it quite early on?
Just walked up and slapped the shit out of Jafar.
Yeah, just smacking everyone.
Just smacked the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, I just got slapped back by Will Smith.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
And I was shocked to see that in the movie.
Have you seen the stand-up that Chris Rock did?
No.
It was really well done. I think you should watch it.
I know there's so many things I should watch, bro.
Yeah.
My list is just so
you just
fucking
need
long.
to I think it's like the last half an hour or
it's
something
like, do you know what is on what I recently added to my list? It's sort of been circling my list, but I've never put it on my list until recently. It's 30 Rock.
Okay.
Because I saw there was just a thread that someone did where they were like, just everyone share your favourite 30 Rock jokes. And there was loads of them that were really making me laugh, but there was one in particular that really, really made me laugh. And it was, I don't know if you're aware of the kind of the characters in it and stuff, but Tracy Morgan, who plays a fictionalised version of himself. Is it the one with Alec
Baldwin?
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
No, nor have I, but there's Tracy Morgan, who is like a black man.
I know who Tracy Morgan is.
Marone or whatever, like that's her character name or something, is a white woman. And
Yeah.
Tracy
Sorry,
Morgan,
I thought you were explaining who Tracy
no,
Morgan was.
Tracy
to me.
Morgan comes into the scene and he's like cross-dressed with like this pale makeup and whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is this a thing?
Yeah.
And he's just like, me and Jenna are doing associate experiment. And they're wait a minute. And she comes skipping around the corner with like this jive bounce to her walk, black face, afro wig, and they're just like, no, cut that fucking shit now. Like that's gonna get us fucking cancelled. And it was just the way that was done was just really, really amusing. So that's on my list. Okay. But my list is just so big. I'm still got to catch up on shit I've not even watched that's currently on.
I know. The thing is, if I haven't got the attention span or don't feel like I can be bothered to sit and watch something I haven't seen before, I end up just reverting and watching something I've seen
a million times
just because I don't have
to
really focus on it.
Yeah. It's comfort. Yeah. It is comfort because you know it.
Yeah. Well, this conversation's gone in I didn't expect all the Star Wars chat, but I'm here for it.
You should always expect Star Wars chat. When
all
I'm
the
around,
Harry Potter chat.
It's either going to go down a superhero route or a Star Wars route at some point.
Yeah.
They will come up.
I've sort of gone off Marvel,
What Marvel?
Not gone off of it.
As
I'm
a
just
whole,
not
or just
as
Marvel,
interested
the TV
in
film
it.
thing.
Yeah, I'm just sort of not.
I'll tell you what I'm really looking forward to. It's the DC. I'm really looking forward to the Flash.
I want to be, but I feel like
they're not
supposed to be.
They're not doing the classic Flashpoint as we all know it, and that's a shame. That is a real shame because they had Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne.
Yeah,
already cast. It was like, oh, bro, it's perfect casting.
Yeah,
they're not doing it, but it does look good for what they are doing.
Michael Keaton got me excited because I like Michael Keaton.
Yeah, you want to go nuts? Let's go nuts.
Yeah,
I like Michael.
The thing is, it does actually look really good.
Yeah. And
it looks like the first decent.
They're just
DC
using it to
film.
reset the DC slate.
Yeah. So how
Marvel,
what do you mean by reset? Like just start from the beginning?
That's the beauty of Flashpoint. I mean, they've done it so many times because
I don't really know Flashpoint.
Okay, so
I know it's like all the Flashes sort of come together.
I'm just going to tell you now. Spoiler alert. Okay, because I'm about to spoil the fucking shit out of Flashpoint for you.
That's fine.
Flashpoint. So Barry decides one day. Barry Allen Flash decides he's going to go back and he's going to save his mum.
Right.
So he goes back and he saves his mum.
Yeah.
And when he comes forward, he finds that the future he's come back to is not the one he left.
Yeah.
In this story, Bruce Wayne's parents didn't die. Right. Bruce Wayne died.
And his dad
becomes Batman and his mum became the Joker. Yeah.
His mum became the Joker?
Because of the trauma of losing her son. Aquaman and basically the Justice League never formed because there was no Bruce Wayne Batman. You realise kind of how key he was. Superman basically didn't land in a farm in Kansas and he's now being kept in an underground lab, kept away from sunlight. So he's still strong because he's still Superman, but he's been in no charge at all for the last 30 years. There's no Justice League, and the Themyscirians, the Amazonians, and the Atlanteans are at war, and they're basically at war over the surface world. So the surface world is paying all the fucking heavy price.
Yeah.
And there's this whole shit going on, right? And Barry realizes that
he fucked everything
up. Fuck, I have to go back and it's such a crucial point, and it's such this beautiful thing. And Thomas Wayne gives a letter to Barry to take back, and he gives it to Bruce, and it's like this. This
and
beautiful
have to be the one that stops him saving his own mum and letting his mum die.
This whole letter is that becoming Batman has been, it was important for me for my healing, for my trauma, but it's a shit life and I don't want that for you. Don't do it. Leave the Batman persona. Live a life, son. That's not what I want for you. And it's beautifully heartbreaking and touching. So they're not going down that. But then obviously when he goes back, they can kind of say, okay, well, everything's been set to normal almost.
Yeah.
There's a couple of little changes and you can just do that again and again and again and again. And you can just reset it. So the Flash has fucking reset the universe in the DC a lot.
Yeah.
That's my spoiler alert for Flashpoint. It's a great story, by the way. If anyone's into comics,
didn't they sort of do it in the TV
they did a cartoon.
show?
They did a cartoon version, like an animated film of it. Great version. Are you talking about in the Flash TV in the Sky?
Yeah.
CW show. Yeah, they did a version of it.
I used to watch that, and then I got a bit bored.
Went on way too long.
Because like Arrow, and as we've discussed before, the 24 episode seasons are just killers.
It's a killer.
It makes me lose my interest so quickly.
So yeah, me too.
Oh, we might have a visitor. A cat has entered the room.
I'm glad we've covered superheroes as well. It's kind of, we're very much in my wheelhouse here.
Yeah, I'm on a bit of a superhero thing at the moment. Yep, there we go. There is pussy on the table.
There's always pussy on the table when you're around. Drink some pussy.
But yeah, so like I said, I wasn't expecting to talk about half of this, but I don't mind it.
Yeah, the Marvel thing, I feel like they've probably... I feel like what really killed them was the last phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for me, because it had absolutely no direction.
That made me shit myself. I was looking down at my phone.
Like, do you know how the phase 1 was introductions, and then it built to the Avengers?
Yeah.
And then it kind of all built to Infinity War.
Yeah.
And then after Infinity War, it's like they didn't know where they were going. And they've only just introduced Kang, but there was a whole phase without Kang.
Yeah. I think, like, with Marvel, it obviously didn't start with the end point in mind. Like, when they made Iron Man, they had no idea it was going to lead to Endgame. And so, like, and I remember hearing about Iron Man was going to come out, and it sounded like a pile of shit. There's a bloke in a suit. Like, it just didn't sound that impressive. And I heard it was one of, like, their least favourite comics as well.
Yeah.
And then I loved it. And then I remember not liking Captain America at first, but I do now. And it just felt like it built naturally and well. And then there was a good story behind it. And it felt like it was all... And then Endgame was such a good... Like, it's one of the rare examples of really good fan payoff and, like, loads of epic moments. Like, we were both in the cinema together when he finally says...
Avengers!
Assemble. And, like, it was a goosebumps moment.
Tweeted that the other. I retweeted that.
But like, I don't quite have the same buy-in to the new characters, and I've heard there's a character called Blue Beetle.
That's DC.
Oh, is that
That's
DC?
I love Blue Beetle. Jaime Reyes is a great character, and I can't wait to see him on screen.
I have no idea who Blue Beetle is.
I know, but I'm such a nerd.
So yeah, I've not watched the Miss Marvel stuff. I've not watched the Hawkeye TV show. Like, and I feel like they've designed it in a way that, and I've said this before, I'm afraid, like, if I haven't watched one of those series, I know I'm going to understand the whole story, but I'm going to miss out on little moments because I haven't watched an entire TV series.
Yeah. I'm very distracted by the person.
I can tell.
What I did was I made the mistake of giving attention early doors.
Yeah, and now he wants more.
Yeah.
But look, he's famous. He's on YouTube. He got what he wanted.
You must go on. Well, you must have notes.
I do. I actually have some listener correspondence. They need our advice.
Yeah?
They need us, Jake.
Is it how to handle pussy? Because I'm famously not good at that.
No, I don't think there's any of those sort of questions, but...
Okay, good.
I mean, you can pick him up and throw him on the floor if you like.
I don't hate it.
You enjoying it?
I don't mind it.
You enjoy the attention. Your cat's a bit more aloof than this, isn't he?
Yeah,
he wouldn't be doing this.
No.
Yeah. Ours aren't trained.
He's probably a bit too old to be jumping up on a table now anyway.
Right, so this is from a listener. Dear Crossing Swords, I'm 35, single. I have a good career, although I'm currently out of work. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
A new apartment. I mean, that's a terrible financial decision if you're out of work. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't be buying an apartment. That's not what they've written in about, but
the advice is starting
early. And I've just found out I'm pregnant, so I'm really sorry, love. You make really bad life decisions. You should not be losing your job and buying a new apartment.
Should have got maternity pay, wouldn't she? I mean, it would have been shit maternity pay, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah. I've been single so long, but I've just had this friends with benefits I've been seeing for 3 or 4 times a week for the past 8 years. He's a lot older than me and has a 16-year-old child. He became a dad when he was my age. We don't date, watch movies or eat out. We just have great sex. He comes to mine or I go to his place. I'm happy with this and I can't think of anything worse than a full-blown relationship. The big problem is my friends with benefits is one of my dad's friends. But he never knew me as a child and is a few years younger than my dad, but I can't tell anyone as the shit would hit the fan. I've never wanted children. I love how my life is deep down and I'm 99% certain of what I want to do. However, I'm 35 and worried about what ifs. What do I do?
Sounds like abort.
I know, but I feel really uncomfortable as a man telling a woman that's what she needs to do. Would you like me to do it?
I'm going to do it. You just give this person advice.
Right, so personally, I'm not going to tell you what you should do about the baby situation. I think you need to sit down, think about things, and really assess what you want. There's a lot of weirdness here. It's your dad's mate. They might not be best mates, but it's still a bit of a line crossed, to be honest. and you've got pregnant, you're in a bit of a sticky wicket, to be honest.
Tell you what, he's got virile sperm,
Yeah.
presuming he's the father.
Well, I think that was what was implied.
Yeah, one on the go, one in the oven.
I mean, personally, you're unemployed. You've just moved into a new place. Is a baby gonna, is that what you want at this point in your life? And if you didn't want kids to begin with, probably the best thing for you is to not have a kid. But I think that's a very serious decision that you need to weigh up.
Would you tell the father?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, though, because that changes the dynamic. But obviously, you would say he has the right to know, but they're also not in a relationship. It's a very casual thing. I would imagine this man's not going to want a baby.
Not if he's not. Yeah, not if he's cheating.
Yeah. But the thing is, she didn't mention this guy's married.
No.
Just that he's got a kid. He could be divorced.
He's old enough.
Personally, in that sort of situation, the last thing I think I'd want or to be involved with is having a baby with someone that much older than me that's already got older children, and especially if I didn't want kids to begin with.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like she wants kids.
No.
Sounds like she knows what she wants. She's just at that point where she's going, oh, but should I?
Yeah.
Should I be doing this? Should I be looking to settle down? All that kind of stuff. But if you don't want to, don't. That's simple.
That's fair.
Get an abortion and go back to your life. And maybe invest in some contraceptives. Maybe make him wear a condom.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think so.
Also, if you're having, I think you're right. If you're having that amount of regular sex, like 3 or 4 times a week, you should be strapping up.
I think, well, yeah, there should be some precautions taken on either side.
Yeah, it's just irresponsible. Yeah.
Done. Helped. Consider yourself helped.
Right. Dear Crossing Swords, a couple of weeks ago, my fiancé and I went on a weekend break with another couple. My fiancé has known the guy for years. He was best man at their wedding 5 years ago and knows his wife quite well too. I was really excited about the weekend, not just because it was nice to get away with my partner, but so that I could get to know his friends better. I thought it would be fun, but it was awful. My fiancé flirted non-stop with his friend's wife right under both our noses, although her husband didn't seem to notice. The pair of them acted like a couple of teenagers bantering and teasing each other. It created a really weird atmosphere. I even noticed my fiancé fiddling with his hair and sucking in his gut whenever this woman walked into the room. I waited until we got home to say something, but he just said I was acting crazy and reading into the situation. He's really annoyed with me and says I spoiled what was a really nice weekend. But from where I was standing, it seemed obvious they were flirting and I didn't like it. What can I do?
Stick to your guns.
Yeah.
Stick to your guns. Maybe talk to the husband, the other husband.
Yeah.
The friend, and say, look,
that could stir
was
up
I the only one?
though.
Yeah, but you could be like, was I the only one that noticed that? Like, does that happen a lot? Is that something I should be worried about? And at least then you've laid the seeds to say to the others, look, I'm on to you. And then it's up to them, really, because if he's then a decent husband, he'll kind of say, he'll either come to you and talk to you about it, or he'll stop doing it because he knows it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, true. I think there's definitely a balance to be found, though, because it depends. Has he always been a flirty guy, or is this completely out of the blue? You've never seen him behave like this before? Because, we've always been in quite a flirty group. Everyone jokes around. There's always been all sorts of madness said. And do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And, Leanne knows with me that I particularly flirt with men.
Yes, you do.
So she gets it. And I would never, but then saying that, I wouldn't particularly flirt with, I don't think I would flirt with another woman in front of her. So I wouldn't need to have that conversation with her. But I think she would also feel comfortable enough to talk to me about it if I had.
But she obviously has. She's tried to have that conversation with her husband, and he's been very dismissive.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I don't think getting his mate involved is going to help, because either he did notice and didn't take it seriously, so he's just going to brush her off, or he didn't notice and he's going to get pissed off and then cause shit with his missus. Yeah,
but maybe shit needs to be caused. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't like conflict, bro.
Yeah, but it's not. You're just lighting the fuse and then running away. It's not really like conflict.
That can spill over. That could cause issues in their relationship, the two guys. But then saying that, if he's flirting with his missus, he's being a bit of a knob anyway, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, tell your other half to bugger off then.
Yeah, I think go and talk to the friend.
Yeah.
Just casually and just kind of be like, look, is that something I need to be worried about? Or, or is there more to it? I don't think that's an unfair thing. Welcome guest.
Yeah. Totally going to be on the camera as well.
Absolutely welcome guest.
Brilliant.
We always say we wanted more guests.
We did. That was a flyby though.
Yeah, we want probably more permanent guests than that.
Yeah.
Not permanent. We don't want to be replaced.
No.
Someone who sticks around.
Would you ever consider bringing a third person in on this?
No, it'd be weird.
Yeah.
It's our thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't mind bringing the third person for a little guest spot or a little.
If I had
Would
to
you
put
ever-
a
would
gun
you
to your
ever
head
feel-
and be like, pick someone out of who we know.
No, would you ever bring anyone in?
No. I think if there's a particular subject we want someone else's opinion on, we just have them in.
Yeah.
And
There's a
we-
guest spot.
Yeah. But if I put a gun to your head and said, pick one of our friends to be the third sword in Crossing Swords,
Well, who would you pick?
it would probably be between, and I think someone's going to be offended here, Ash would be up there, because I think we know Ash really well. We've all been on holiday. Like, we're all comfortable with one another, and I think and Ash is quite different to me and you. So I think there'd be more debates potentially over some
Everything.
subjects. Yeah. And another one would be our friend Andrew, because I've had quite a few interesting conversations with him. He listens to the podcast, shout out, and he'll like message me and follow up on stuff or like suggest other stuff to me. So I would, yeah. And
It'd be good to have another ideas man.
yeah,
Carry us through a bit
because
more.
currently I'm doing most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm so out of sorts at the moment.
That's fair, bro. Happens to all of us.
I don't even know what day of the week it was. Yesterday I tried. Last week. So this week it was the big City Arsenal game.
Yeah,
I tuned in to watch it last week.
yeah.
I was well off the pace.
Yeah.
Got home, turned on the telly, and it was like,
To be honest-
what channel's it on? What channel's it on?
I live most of my life day to day. To be honest with you, I don't do a lot of forward planning.
I can't. I'm very incapable.
Yeah,
Who knows what's coming?
no.
That's Future Jake's problem. Unfortunately, what I found today when I raced back home in the car, driven by the chauffeur to get the microphone, I did suffer one of those like, fuck's sake, this is a Future Jake problem moment,
Yeah.
because basically my mic sort of like part of it came apart
Okay.
last week when we recorded,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
and I was like, do you know what? I'll stick it all in the space and I'll do it next week. That's
So you had to
Future
fix
Jake's
it,
problem.
did you?
So I had to fix it before I could even, and I
And
couldn't.
you'd forgotten
I'd
that
sort of
you
just
needed
chucked
to
everything.
fix it.
I just chucked everything in the drawer, so I couldn't even find the bit that had come off. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, for God's sake, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I've put that all on Future Me, and now I'm Future Me,
And
and I
you're
don't
not
like
prepared
it.
for
I'm not prepared for it.
No. That's fair, bro. Well, look, I think we're coming up for time now.
Yeah.
Because you're a busy man, you're in
I'm
demand.
really shockingly bad
Um,
at keeping time.
But no, it's been a good one. Definitely went in different directions that I didn't expect, but I've enjoyed it. So before we let you leave, you just need to tell people where to find us, Jake.
No, I see. I nearly made the same joke again, and I keep making it. And I'm gonna go a few weeks without making it. You watch.
What
You
was the
mark me.
joke?
Following our GPS, coming to the bathhouses, all those kinds of jokes.
Yeah.
Where they can find us.
School, playgrounds.
Grinder.
The way you said grinder.
But they can. I'm going to do it seriously. Ready? Serious, deadpan.
Serious.
You can find us at Swords Crossing on Twitter, at CrossingSwords_podcast on Instagram and TikTok. You can find us CrossingSwords19@gmail.com for the email. If you want a message a little more privately, something a little more discreet, something you're a little bit worried about sharing
If you
with
want
the
to
public.
sex Jake on the DL, get
Yep.
in the
And you can
email.
also hit me up on any of the DMs.
I won't respond because I'm in a committed relationship.
My
But Jake
DMs are
is single
always
and
open.
ready to mingle.
I respond to most pictures.
Yeah.
Positively.
Including dick pics?
I respond positively to most pictures,
Nice.
including dick pics.
Yeah.
I'm
Or even
always-
if you're like
I always say
horrified
nice
by
things.
what you
Do you know what I
say.
mean? I always say nice things.
Like if an absolute, wildebeest messages you,
I'm like, hanging low, bro.
you just appreciate the
You're rocking it with pride,
attention.
my man. Yeah. I also say some nice things.
Yeah.
Move the
That's
conversation
very
along.
sweet of you.
I'm a nice guy.
I know.
I'm a nice guy. And you can find us just Crossing Swords on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you can find us on YouTube, Crossing Swords, type the name of the episode.
Yeah.
And
And
a
of
link.
course, in every description of every episode.
will be in description. Every episode,
Yeah.
every description. So
Every
you've got no
description.
excuse not to find us, not to like us, not to subscribe to it, not to share it.
So start doing it.
Yeah.
You horrible bastards.
You sons of bitches.
Yeah.
We're coming for you.
We are. And on you.
And yeah, not from this distance. You'll have to come a bit closer for
I
that.
don't know. I think I could be an Olympic.
You've brought it back round though. You've brought it back round to Grinder.
Yeah.
You've swung us back round.
Always.
Always comes back to Grinder.
Always. It's just the way you said it.
There are so many horror
Grindr.
stories on Grinder. Like, I'd love to know if it was actually like what people say it is.
Yeah, no, I actually worked with a gear man once, and he was my boss. And
So you had no choice when he said to do things.
but he used to talk to me about his experiences on Grindr, and he was just like, it's just a load of younger guys that are horny. just
Every single gay
desperate to have
person I've
sex with
ever
an older
spoken
guy.
to says Grindr is just like
An absolute fuckfest.
it's just a horror
Of course
story
it
after,
is.
but horror story after horror story.
Oh, really? What, just catfishing or?
Well, not just catfishing, just like desperation, horniness.
Yeah, but it's men. What do
I
you
know,
think?
just-
It's like, how bad is all the bad stuff about dating apps is mostly caused by men when you're straight. Like, women's approach to men approaching them on these apps is because most men are dirtbags or behave like
Scumbag.
dirtbags.
We're scumbags.
So if you then have
Scumbags
a dating
against
app where
scumbags,
it's just
yeah.
men, it's going to be an absolute festering fuckhole. Do you know what I mean?
And
Because that's all men want.
I think that was the neglected name,
The festering
the
fuckhole.
festering fuckhole app.
Yeah. Mate, let's get on it.
What, Grindr or making our own app?
Making our own app.
Or both.
Both.
We keep our options open.
Always.
Much like our own assholes.
And on that note,
So yeah, let's end there.
bye.